Musta kayo? Ako si Andres and I have an absolutely amazing videos na yon ha.
The uncommon man, if you will, doesn't get enough chance. Do you think that's true?
I think that in some way it could be true. I could point to one instance, for instance, in your public school education. You put so much emphasis on mass education and you put double the emphasis on mass that you do on education. You allow students to club the public schools without dividing them according to their mental ability. So what happens? You put a genius and a moron in the same class. And what happens? In order for the class to proceed in a sane manner, you have to cater down to the moron.
Yes.
With the result that you pour down this poor genius, make him frustrated, give him very little chance to advance. And you know that there is nothing that stifles intelligence so much as restriction.
Whoa, I completely agree with Johnny here. He's saying the education system basically is flawed. And I know this happens also in Denmark, it happens in America, it happens in Europe, it happens here. Now, like Johnny said, the geniuses or the smarter kids could be in a different class where they can learn more, maybe in a different way, and it will stimulate their education in a much better way. So I think this is the same problem we've had for 70 over years, and I absolutely think this contributes to our education right now being worse than it used to be.
Strangling the intelligent person in the
That's
embryo.
right. So that you might see that there is a sort of educational suffocation in America.
I think I have to be sort of defender of the American system. I haven't noticed that. I think that
Really?
the American system gives the opportunity to the more advanced pupils. For instance, I've noticed the honor classes in the schools I've visited. I've noticed the advanced classes in which, when the math advanced, they give the more gifted pupils the opportunity to get much more that what they can get.
Actually, this is not true because except for a few exceptional schools like science schools, when they are the rare exceptions, you find that pupils are admitted into a classroom without any regard for mental ability. No grading into A, B, C, D, or E. And no adjustment of teaching ability to the type of mentality you have.
Johnny, sorry, go ahead.
How much do you know about this? Have you made an extensive survey of this?
I don't think you need to make a survey of this. This is just common sense, guys, and we are still allowed to use our common sense. I completely agree with Johnny. He's way ahead of these European guys, huh? Because I think he's absolutely right on point, and I wish our education system would be like that. According to our mental abilities, or to what we know already, we should be grading the pupils starting from the very first grade, A, B, C, D. And there should be a first grade A, first grade B, first grade C, so that we go into the right classes and learn what they need to learn. Right now, everybody's just put into one grade, everybody learns the same, whether their abilities are worse or better. Completely wrong, okay? I'm very sure about this, and I completely agree with Johnny. Hey, I might not be political correct here. I don't care, because I do believe very, very seriously in what Johnny is saying. I've been saying that for years as well.
I wouldn't call it an extensive survey, but as you know, in sampling opinion, you do not necessarily have to ask everybody, but you get a cross-section of opinions. So what I did was to talk to several principals, ask them if this method of giving entrance examinations in public schools is a widespread or a national practice, and they said no, except for certain schools like vocational schools where they have to judge your aptitude. Those are the only kinds of schools where they give you entrance examinations. So you see, I sampled educational authority, people who ought to know.
Yes. He's smart.
Johnny.
Smart. No, really, honestly,
You're
so smart.
obviously an expert debater. But
Yes.
could we come back to one or two of your points of criticism in Asia of the United States and criticism in Western Europe of the United States? From where do you get most, or do your people get most of their information about the United States?
I think one of the main source of the information they get is the movies.
The movies, that's one. Now what else?
And I don't think it's a very good and very true source of information.
What about current affairs? How do you get information about current events in America?
Well, speaking for my country and for most Asian countries, we get our information about America, her domestic policies and her foreign policies from American magazines.
Right.
And I'm not trying to give a plug for any of them, but without mentioning, you have Life, you have the Herald Tribune, let us say, or the New York Times, or Reader's Digest, or Coronet. Can you
Correct.
see?
But I was thinking more of reports in your newspapers. Do they come from the regular press agencies?
Yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of
think they
British newspapers, of course, have correspondents in Washington and
Right.
New York.
What about
I think the
government?
whole of the free world watches every move that Washington makes. It's the political barometer of the free world.
Huh?
I think it is, Johnny.
No.
The political barometer of the free world.
Oh my goodness.
You don't agree with that?
No.
I wouldn't say that.
Why not?
So,
Barometer in what sense?
if America decides on one thing,
Okay.
then it's advisable for the rest of the free world to
Huh?
sort of tag along behind America
Why?
because America's paying out so much to the rest of the free world in
So?
aid.
So see, we are back again. Even this guy is now saying that, hey, because America is paying out aid and helping other countries, they should follow the political line of the US. So he's contradicting himself again. I completely agree with Johnny again. Johnny is really, matalino talaga si Johnny, no? Grabe. Isip na isip siya eh. It's not like he's just reacting. He's actually thought about these things before he came here. So pamagaling talaga. And how can America be the barometer of the free world? America is just one country. There's so many other countries out there in the world, and many of them are much older than America. So I think that there are definitely systems out there in the world, definitely cultures out there in the world which is much stronger and better. Okay? So just because we get aid does not mean we have to follow the political line and do whatever they tell us.
Oh my
That's
God.
probably the catch.
Oh, but
No.
Peter, we
No.
don't pay it out. We don't expect to be dished back something
You
in return.
do.
What we realize that we are more fortunate than a lot of peoples in the
Okay.
world.
Oh, that's
and we
good.
try to help them.
Okay.
We don't dish it out in expectation of getting
They do.
something in return.
Yes, but there is that mistrust, as Johnny
Yes.
said.
Yes.
All the money's coming in with the right hand.
Right.
You've got to watch the shadow of the left hand.
Yes.
Right.
That's what I think the shadow of the left hand might be.
Yes.
You've
That's right.
given quite a lot of trenchant criticisms of the United States, and John is outnumbered here, 4-1. Would it be fair to ask you what you think about some American reactions, such as, why on earth, with all the help we've given to Europe, doesn't she get together in some sort of an EDC? And when is Asia ever going to start getting some kind of Asian federation so that the countries can work together? Is that a fair question?
Okay.
I will answer
you.
for Asia.
Yes.
Good.
That's
Now,
it.
you ask me, when is Asia going to get an Asian federation? That time will come when each country in Asia is confident that being a member of an Asian federation will guarantee her not being dominated by another Asian country.
Yes. Well, basically what they're talking about here, federation, that is what we today call the ASEAN countries. And I think that's right. We should not let one single country dominate the others. If it's a grouping, it's a grouping, and it should be on an equal footing, right?
What sort of future? What long-term future are you looking for?
We're looking toward the time when we can disregard countries like India, because look, if they go into a federation, an Asian federation, they will naturally dominate that federation, and we
Yeah.
don't like that. We want to wait. We want to wait until the time when we're strong enough to
Okay.
be able to tell India where to get off. And we and we think that days in far off. Today we prefer unilateral agreements
Yes.
with the United States, single agreements,
Yes.
where we can trust the United States. At least my country can.
Right.
Well, we hope you have the time. Of course, I'm guilty of what Peter says all Americans are guilty of, wanting to get things done in a hurry. But
Yeah.
do you sincerely think that the threat is so slight that you will have all this time to wait?
Why not?
You know, that is one thing. Most Asian countries live so near communist China,
Yes.
and communist China is daily growing a greater menace.
Yes.
And yet, there is less fear in most Asian countries of communism than I have noticed in America.
That's
Or
true.
at least, we do not publicize communism so much in the Philippines or in other Asian countries as much as you do in the United States.
Right.
Is it because your Magsaysay has gotten rid and has found a good solution to get rid of communists in the Philippines?
Yes. Now, when I say this, I'm speaking entirely for Filipinos.
Okay.
You see, when you have a sense of security at home, you're inclined to feel secure about the rest of the world.
Yes.
So that when President Magsaysay lessened the threat of communism to such a great extent in the Philippines, we feel much secure now,
Yeah.
more secure.
Absolutely.
Is it
That's so
fair to
true.
ask now about this European Federation? Eric's over there too. He ought to give you
That's
some
EU,
support.
no?
Well, I
European
think
Union.
what Johnny told for Asia is quite true. We don't want a nation to become too powerful in an European community. And I think what America is doing now, it's to help a nation become much more powerful than the other one.
That is
It's right.
Oh, well, you know.
Germany. All right. Well,
Eric.
I have to say it again and again. Grabe, matalino talaga. Matalino talaga si Johnny, no? Unbelievable. He's been thinking about these things, and of course this was during the presidency of Magsaysay, so things were very, very different. Sayang patay siya, no? Sa plane crash, no? I think the Philippines would have looked very different if Magsaysay would have carried out his complete term. As you can see, basically Johnny is dominating this whole entire debate or discussion. I mean, matalino siya, diba? I think the smartest one of all these foreign exchange students here is definitely Johnny, no? He's done his research, he knows what he's talking about, and he's not afraid to have an opinion.
I was just asking, from what you two have been saying, I gathered the fact that one country is afraid to be less powerful than the other country. That's why I don't want to join the EDC.
It's the same with the Asian
No, but
Federation.
so what? Don't you trust each other? Aren't you friends? Does it matter whether he is weaker or you are weaker? So
Yeah.
long as you help each other, don't you
Correct.
trust each
Aren't you
other?
friends with India?
Well, no,
No, well, we are friends.
not very. I wouldn't say that. Beside, the Asian situation is different. Each
Yes.
country, most of the countries in Asia are trying to gain a distinct personality. So we cannot afford to join an amalgamation at this time, because that would erase our personality
Right.
entirely.
And you
I
don't
think that is
think
what we feel.
you don't think from what Eric said that France is trying to maintain a distinct personality of being individualistic
no,
and different?
They can come in a federation because they already have distinct personalities of their
Yes,
own. It is just a meeting of friends. Whereas if Asians come together, Asian countries which are new, that would be just like running one piece of hot plastic into another hot piece of plastic,
Right.
and we don't want that. We want to build a personality first and then join together.
Eric mentioned Indochina a moment ago. Have you got a 30-second solution
So this
for
was
America
before
as to
the
what she should or shouldn't do in
Vietnam War.
Indochina?
Oh, that's
I won't
interesting.
say what America should do in Indochina. It's really out of my province. But I do want to say that the people of Indochina desperately want their own freedom,
Of course.
their own right to call their country their own.
Yes.
And I believe that if France would give them an equivocal answer to the effect that they will have Indochina once this war is won, you will get a lot more support from Indochina
Yes.
than you already have.
Absolutely correct, huh? Indochina, which is today Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, was of course under the French rule for a very, very long time. And of course we had the Vietnam War, which was very long and very bad, and America lost the war and Vietnam unified. Actually, you cannot really blame the Vietnamese because America and France had been promising Ho Chi Minh so many things, that they would be free to do this, free to do that, and it never materialized. After the Second World War, France basically wanted to get back Vietnam and Indochina, although they had been promised to become free countries. So you cannot blame them. They wanted to be free. Why not? That's their country. This was, of course, recorded some years before the Vietnam War, but you can already see how even Johnny is thinking that, hey, why are you guys even in Vietnam? That's not your business, you know, that's not your country. You should let the Vietnamese run their own country, right?
I'm not a prophet.
Well, isn't that more or less what happened in the Philippines? There was a serious communist menace in there until after the war, and the Filipinos really began to, the Americans left completely, and the Filipinos really began to deal with the problem themselves, and now Magsaysay seems to have it pretty much under control.
That is true, John.
Right.
Because when America left us to remove the communist threat in our own country,
Yes.
we had the country
Johnny.
to fight for.
I'm sorry, that's
See?
a good note to end on. I think in all fairness to the students who have willingly expressed many of their criticisms of the United States for our edification, I ought to quote you in closing a word that Johnny said just a little while ago. He said one of the things that he likes best about the United States is that when you talk to people here about the future, they talk as if there was going to be one.
So why don't you leave me a comment below and tell me what do you think about Johnny and the way he debates, the way he thinks about the future, and the way he thinks about things. Now, the other thing I want you to tell me is, do you still have this mistrust of the United States right here in the Philippines? Is it still like Johnny said way back in the 50s? Or do we just trust the US that they are always doing the right thing? So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the bell button. Mabuhay sa inyo lahat. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to click that subscribe button and of course the bell button so you'll be notified when we have new videos for you.